7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be in 2019 with my brothers. This is episode 61 of our vodcast, 32 Kings Road. Happy New Year to all of the listeners. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com, where you can see previous episodes of our show, 32 Kings Road, as well as our secondary show, Confirmation Bias. Or please subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We've got a really good show today. There's a lot that's happened since we were last here, the start of the 2018 NFL playoffs, and so we'll cover that. We've also got some updates and some perspective on the coaching carousel in the NFL. But first, as always, Red O, Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year's, brother.
What are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on the fact that it's Laker season now.
It's been Laker season.
Right.
Officially.
For those of you that don't know what he's talking about, it's because the Chicago Bears took a cold L this weekend. We will get into that.
Frozen.
Junior Blue.
I'm sipping on this mango card here. I suggest everybody go try it. Golden Road. They got a brewery out in the valley, so definitely go out and try that. I'm also sipping on Kev's retweet or sharing of our post, and I think we should rename the show Surviving the Playoffs.
Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
I am sipping on my usual Bender's Peach Tea from Aldi. Got it for the low. Keeps me hydrated. But to keep Les's point going, I think we can all confess that we're the only group of Black people that haven't watched the Surviving R. Kelly documentary. And I would say, as the youngest person in the group, even me, I felt like I didn't have to watch it because at 12 years old, I went to the Best of Both Worlds tour with him and Jay-Z. And, you know, of course, they split their time. And when R. Kelly came out, I knew then. I didn't exactly know what he was doing or what was going on, but the 12-year-old in me knew that this was just wrong. Everything about him was wrong, and now it's coming to fruition.
Because he was checking for the same chicks you was checking for. Dad, what you sipping on, sir?
I gotta stay dry because I see too much of you guys too often. It sounds like the same thing every Tuesday, but you know, since we were last on, Kev was out here, other family. It's just too much. So I'm not sipping on anything. But what I'd like to briefly discuss is the fact that nuanced conversations just don't exist anymore. Period. Either staying in line with what you guys were talking about. Either you're for R. Kelly or you're against him. There's nothing in between. I can't even believe there are people that are for him. Even to the fact that that awful, terrible halftime show that was on yesterday, people love that shit. I don't understand it. So,
all right. Well, to piggyback off of that, the halftime show was a part of the national title game, which is what I'm sipping on. I am also sipping on water because it's essential when you live a life like mine. The national title game where we have the Clemson Tigers defeating the Alabama Crimson Tide by the score.
Defeating.
Yeah, well, that's putting it kindly, 44-16. Quick segue here. Show of hands, whose teams are remaining in the NFL playoffs? And we'll get back to Clemson and Alabama. Anybody?
I feel
No
like
hands?
it's hard to
me get in the
congratulate
camera.
you when
Yeah,
you
right there.
haven't suffered the losses of a typical fan.
When he hasn't been a fan for 365 days.
Yeah.
It's been 365.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't been 365? Well, the point is that
We getting there.
the Los Angeles
We close.
Chargers are still in the playoffs. Anyway, Clemson, Alabama. It was a riveting first quarter. And then...
Is that what you call it?
in the first quarter it was. And then the wheels came off. I believe the nation got introduced to one Trevor Lawrence.
Sunshine.
We call him affectionately Sunshine. For those of you that watched Remember the Titans, you know who Sunshine is, the California quarterback. Kevin, who did he remind you of in that game last night? And also, what do you see as being his pro prospects, especially considering that he has to be in school for another 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but he brought back memories of who we call Blanco Diablo in this town, and that is Mr. Peyton Manning. He stood tall in that pocket, delivered that ball downfield, the pressure in his face. I mean, he just had the ultimate control of the game. And for him to do that as a 19-year-old, and again, as the young guy on the show, to look at someone who he was born on my 9th birthday. I mean, he's so young, he makes me seem old. That I'm going to be interested to watch him develop. I think his pro prospects are going to be through the roof. I mean, we were talking about it last night. Teams are going to be doing everything in their power to have.
That's not what we said.
That's not what we said. What did we say, Devin?
I'm not going there.
Redo,
It's a family-
what did we
it's a
say
family
last
show
night?
we have.
Family show.
Oh, now we want to be a family show. We said NFL teams gonna be sucking and fucking for Trevor Lawrence.
They are.
But can you blame him though? I mean, the kid to have that type of poise and that ability at his age. I mean, that to sit in the pocket and to know the pressure's coming and still deliver the ball on a dime downfield is something that guys don't do until they're in that second, third year in the NFL. I think that's what takes you from the college level to being a successful pro. And from what we saw last night and even the week before, he can do it.
I don't know who he reminds me of. I don't know if there's an actual like blueprint, but everything Kevin said, like his ability to move up in the pocket, make the throws, stare down the face of the defense where they're coming at him and deliver. And it doesn't seem like there's anything he can't do, and he can only get better. The only thing that we have to worry about is him having to stay 2 more years and getting hurt because for the life of me, I don't know why he was in the game running options at the end when they had their whole ankle up their ass
It
already.
was quarterback runs. Yeah. like his mobility reminds me of Andrew Luck. Somebody who can stay in the pocket and also is mobile. That's why I wouldn't put him in Peyton Manning because he's always been a statue back there.
Yeah.
And we saw last night that he could actually run if he has
6'6".
to. Yeah.
And he's built like
Yeah.
to me physically, like his physique. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Like typically when you see quarterbacks that are built like that, they're black, and they have that mobility. But to see a white quarterback with that physique have that mobility. The other thing, too, is that he has a cannon for an arm, but he's accurate. Typically, when guys have that strong of an arm, they struggle with accuracy. And that, to me, was what was impressive.
The only thing I will say is I just hope we are all, not to be Debbie Downer, I just hope we are all not being prisoners of the moment. His skills are out there, but there have been quarterbacks who you see him in their first year, and it's like, wow, this guy is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft regardless. And then, by the time the 3rd year comes around, it's just not the same. I will be all open to riding on those coattails after year 2 and year 3, and he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a fair point. I think for me, especially with a guy with that talent, it's the accuracy, I think, that makes it seem like this guy is going to be different. But to stay on that point, and I'll stay with you, Redo, was Tua, and I just call him TT because I don't even mess with the last name. Was TT exposed a little bit last night? Because the throws that he had trouble with, the plays where he actually had the turnovers, those were NFL type disguises, NFL type movement on the defense that he completely misread. Was he exposed a little bit?
I don't know if he was exposed as if anyone thought he was as good as he had the skill level like Sunshine had. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I guess the bloom is coming off a little bit. It's like, okay, was he, there are ways to beat Alabama, but I don't think anyone thought that this man was going to be throwing 4,000 yards in the NFL. That's not the quarterback he is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that is the expectation. That he's, I mean...
Is it still?
Well, I mean, that's why we're asking the question, but I think Tua's talent has always been there, even going back to when you follow the story of Tua, even going back to when Jalen was still starting last year and in preseason and in training camp, all the guys on the team knew. Terrell Owens, as a matter of fact, worked out because he worked out with Calvin Ridley. And in the offseason, Terrell Owens, and this was before Calvin's senior year, knew that guy was special. They knew it was just a matter of time. All the coaches, Nick Saban was actually the last one to really come around to say, like, we need to start to go with Tua as the starting quarterback. So I think the talent is there, and there are very high expectations. I think the only real knock on him prior to what we saw last night was his size, but I think that's becoming less and less of an issue when you see not only what Drew Brees has done, but you look at Baker Mayfield,
Russell
Wilson.
That's who I actually compare him to. I don't think he was exposed. I think this was really the first time they played a defense like Clemson. And to think they didn't have their top defensive lineman.
Right.
I mean, that team is real. The whole defense is real. And another thing, as far as how he got his numbers, touchdowns, and all the yards, was off play action. That is the majority of how their offense worked. Off play action. And they couldn't run like they normally ran the whole season or through the SEC or through whoever AA team they played.
Were those picks in the zone coverage?
I know the pick six was.
No, the
first
second one.
The defender passed off.
Yeah,
passed off.
and went to-
Defender passed off.
All right,
and jumped it.
So the reason why I asked that is because he's short, and you have to be able to see all that, and he's used to making those plays off a man, and that's where he's going to struggle.
Well, the first one, he looked right at the defender. Honestly, they were two very good plays by the defenders, giving them credit. But it wasn't anything that you wouldn't see on Sunday. The first one was a sideline out route, and basically the outside corner came off of his man and stepped up and made the play, made the interception.
And it was a bad throw because it was in between the two.
It was a bad throw. He threw it behind him. The second one though was it was up the field, and he basically read it as Judy looked like he was open. The outside corner did. It was a cover. It ended up being a cover 3 that he sank into, and it was an overthrow on top of that. That was the other thing.
He wasn't helped by play calling. Is that a bad sign for Maryland University new head football coach, or is that coming from Nick?
Well, I mean, there definitely were some questionable moments in that game, right? We had the botched field goal, fake field goal, which was really awful. Out of character. Yeah. Like, besides it just being a bad call on 4th and 6, and you call a keeper with a holder, it was just out of character. At that point, there was a lot of time left in the game. You could still play the field goal game. And if you didn't trust the field goal kicker because he did have
offense out.
Exactly, because he did miss a field goal earlier in the game. The one extra point that he made was veered off. It looked like it was going to be a miss. So if you didn't trust the kicker, just keep your offense on the field and go for it in that way. So it was interesting. Final question here for all of you guys. Is it bad for college football that, this is now... in the college football playoff, this is the fourth matchup between the two. The second one in the national title game. The third one in the national title game. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be there for at least another 2 years. Alabama is a machine.
Ain't going nowhere.
Clemson is a machine, and they play in the ACC.
So, exactly. So, is it bad for college football that it's likely that at least for the next 2 years, you're probably looking at this matchup again for the national championship?
I think it kills all those conversations about adding 4 more teams and making it 8, because why are we prolonging the inevitable? And then we prolonged it, and then it was a fucking drumming. So if you look at this bowl season, or specifically the college playoffs, it was a fail. All 3 games were ass whoopings. All
but
three.
Is that like it could go the opposite way? Whereas you giving more teams the opportunity to be in the final game instead of
That sounds like a money grab. Because I mean, if the top either they got
It's
3
all
and
a
4,
money grab.
either they got 3 and 4 wrong, terribly wrong, or the same shit's gonna happen if you have UCF playing who's the third team, Notre Dame, and
But I
because
also
the first
think
two
I
teams
also
gets
think
the
Notre
bye.
Dame shouldn't be allowed unless they join the power conference.
That's never gonna happen.
Well, then I don't think they should be allowed.
It's interesting. That's an interesting point to say that because of this rivalry and it appearing as if it is going to be a dominant rivalry for the next few years, that's actually an argument against expanding the playoff. Kevin, are you okay with college football essentially coming down to Clemson and Alabama for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, personally, I am, because I don't have a dog in the fight, so I could watch these two teams play all day. And then, at least looking at Clemson, most of the damage that was done last night was done by freshmen and sophomores. So we could very well get a chance to see these guys grow into, see how the team progresses next year, which is one knock that I personally have on college football, is that after, well, college sports in general, is after 2-3 years, then these guys move on and then you got to recycle. We could actually see this rivalry come back next year, see if how Trevor Lawrence progresses. Like what Omar mentioned earlier, if he can play that well in another big moment. I'm interested to see it, because I wouldn't have been surprised if either team would have won last night. So if they want to run it back, and that's what it comes down to, I'm watching.
As long as they're the best two teams in the game, I don't have no problem with it. I mean, but if you think about it, Clemson almost lost to Syracuse. It took a backup quarterback, a 90-yard drive. That's why I think something like that, for expanding the bowl games, it gives more opportunity for a team. I mean, not saying Syracuse, but any other good team to show up. I mean, there's always a team here like Georgia. Georgia, their kryptonite might just be Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They might have showed up a better showing against Clemson than Alabama did, but they ran into Alabama in the SEC title game.
They also got thumped by Texas in the bowl game, so that was kind of cool.
I called that though. I mean, if you think you're supposed to be in the playoffs and you're not, you're gonna get
Michigan
thumped.
got thumped.
Michigan got
Florida.
Ohio State. If it wasn't Urban Meyer's last game, I feel like they lose that game because they thought they should be in the playoffs.
All right, well, let's move on to the pros, the NFL. Prior to the holidays, we were sort of putting a bow, as it were, on the teams that had been officially eliminated from playoff contention. And so we have a few of those teams remaining that we want to put a bow on or a cap on their seasons, as well as 4 playoff teams that we want to address as well. So we'll start with the playoff teams. Kevin, I will go to you first. You have the Seattle Seahawks, who took a defeat last Saturday to the Dallas Cowboys, 24-22, a game that was vexing if you were on the wrong side of the bet. Kevin, Seattle Seahawks. Oh, yeah, right. Or if you were Alan Hearns.
Jesus Lord.
What are the 3 wishes in this new year for the Seattle Seahawks so that they can have a better 2019 season?
Well, I think it was obvious their strength was that they were able to run the ball effectively up to this point based on the roster that they had. But I think in order for them to take the next step, because that game plan kind of was halted against Dallas, they continued to try to run the ball against a team that wasn't giving that up. What helps Russell Wilson is to be able to run that play action, have a balanced offense to go downfield. I think they do need to add another playmaker to make that offense a little more dynamic. They were the only team in the league that ran the ball more than they passed it. I think that'll help Russ get back to that level of not only an elite quarterback, but an elite quarterback relying on the play action pass. 2, I think they need to maintain that functioning O-line, which again was another surprise to us. I'm surprised they made it this far, but they have something there. But the issue coming into this offseason is that they have both J.R. Sweezy and DJ Fluker, who both of them sound like a 90s white rap duo. 2 of their offensive linemen are going into free agency, so I think they really have to consider if they want to keep this together, or they keep one of the guys, or neither and decide that, they're going to bring somebody in through the draft or through free agency. And then last, I think that they need to pray that Michael Kendricks goes to jail quietly. Last time he left the team, he divulged some important secrets. And he's on his way out. It's just got to be quick, quiet, get my man's up out the way. But I think Seattle got as much as they can get out of the season anybody predicted. So if any of the teams that lost should be happy with where they stand.
If every team could have a rebuilding season like what Seattle had,
man,
the NFL it'd be hard to predict every season. Redo, you had the Houston Texans who went out at home meekly, I might add,
Oh my goodness.
to the Indianapolis Colts, 21-7.
They laid down.
They've got some decisions to make as far as free agency goes.
they have all their free agents. I don't know if there's a team that has more important free agents this offseason, but before they even think about free agents, they need to call up Oprah, have her come do her show, one last Christmas show, so she can be like, you get an O-line, you get an O-line, because they need a left tackle bad.
Yeah.
What's his name? Rankin and Davenport were horrendous. I think abysmal was the word that was used.
Ghost of David Carr.
When your star quarterback was sacked 62 times, that's a problem. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of those are Deshaun's, and that's one of my wishes is somebody needs to teach Deshaun how to let go of the goddamn ball. Get rid of the ball.
Give up the rock.
Because if your offensive line is already bad, you're not helping yourself by holding on to the ball too long. I mean, I watched Jay Cutler do that shit for years, and it was shades of that. But they also have the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th pick in the draft.
They have 3 first rounders?
Yeah. And they can
Swallow trade maybe.
Oh.
and it was something else too. It was 2 different things.
Let's don't be fact checking on air.
Like there has to be a left tackle taken. There has to be.
I mean, I feel like you got to use all 3 picks on linemen, right?
Right, but they need a center too. But see, the one thing that hurt them this year was they signed, I think it's Sealy Henderson. I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name. He broke his ankle first game of the season for right tackle.
Okay.
So they expect him to be healthy and back. So that's one concern that's already. So they don't have to use something on right tackle. They just need to concentrate on that left side. But then the biggest concern after the O-line is their free agents. The 3 major ones I think they need to sign are one is underrated defensive tackle Brandon Dunn. He doesn't get a lot of the pub, but that he's one of their glue guys. They damn near begged Tyrann Mathieu to come, and they gave him a 1-year deal. I think they need to re-sign him for a couple years, and then they definitely need to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney.
All right. We've got the Baltimore Ravens, who
Just get to it, motherfucker.
they were summarily dismissed Sunday by the Los Angeles Chargers at home. A very, very competitive game. Junior Blue, what do the Ravens need to wish for in this new year?
First off, I was impressed with the Ravens. I didn't think they could go as far as they did. You guys had a chance. Hey, you guys had a chance to win the game. Just it didn't work. Flacco, trade Flacco. Trade him to Jacksonville. Trade him to wherever you can. Save some of that money. That's the best choice than just letting him go. You'll probably get a mid 3rd, 4th rounder for him.
You might maybe get a second for him because the draft is light on
Jasper's not
quarterbacks.
here.
Yeah, and you save money. My second thing, I know you guys have talked about it in the past, but I think you guys need to bring C.J. Mosley back. You know, a middle linebacker. Hell, he stepped up in that Cleveland game for y'all. And it seems like that's what he does. Now, he might cost a pretty penny, but get it done. Keep that defense together. And it's about that time for T-Sizzle to have his replacement. It's time for him to hang it up. Or if he's not hanging it up, He only plays on third downs, and you guys draft his replacement. Because your guys' defense is there. You guys might need safety help in a year or two, probably next year, after next year. But your defense is there. I had a fourth thing. You guys need another offensive coordinator. Somebody who actually can work with Lamar Jackson. I don't know, what's Baylor's coach? That'd be somebody that
Art
I would
Browse.
that would be somebody I think will work well with Lamar, just as a way of, what he can do, his limitations, and he needs to grow for you guys to reach where y'all want to go.
Huh. That's
Les.
interesting.
We've been saying that for, I don't know how long. Well, honestly, we've been going in and out of offensive coordinators, but specifically Marty Morningway, in my opinion, ruined the last 2 years of Joe Flacco's career. And he's going to ruin Lamar Jackson if he's here for another game. I can guarantee you that.
Michael Vick doesn't agree with you. He feels like Marty and then your quarterback's coach. Who's your quarterback's coach?
I know you're talking about.
I'm drawing
Yeah,
a blank. I said,
yeah,
but
I see his face.
they were because they were there for Vic when he was in Philadelphia, and he swears because couldn't a point be made or an argument be made that part of what stunted Lamar's development was the fact that you started out the year with Joe Flacco?
How long ago was that Michael Vick success?
Whenever he got out of the pen.
Yeah, I think that was 2011
Mm-hmm.
ish. Marty ain't got it no more, bro.
I do, Kenya. I think you make a good point. I think Marty is a better coordinator for Lamar than he was for Joe. But I've seen enough. It's not necessarily scheme as it is, as me and Davin always talk about this, situational football. It's we put him in position. First off, Harbaugh does not have that type of oversight over the offense to control what Marty does, at least from what I see. We need somebody that's going to put him in positions to win and not do what he did to Lamar on Sunday and what he did to Joe for the last 2 years. It's not going to happen with him. And Lamar, in my opinion, doesn't have the same exact skill set as Michael Vick. Michael Vick could flick his wrist and throw the ball 70 yards. I don't know if I've seen that from Lamar yet.
All right. I have, continuing the theme of league ambassador teams, I have Omar Chicago Bears. First of all, keep the same energy. And what I mean by that is find an extra $7 million, $10 million and give that to Vic Fangio and keep him right where he needs to be. And also, I believe Bryce Callahan and Bobby Massey are two free agents that should also be retained as well. Second of all, I think Mr. Nagy's got to reintroduce himself to Jordan Howard. And I think a running game has always been and always will be the best friend of a dominant defense. Chicago was third in time of possession during the season, but in key moments and in key games, running the ball versus putting more responsibility on your developing quarterback, I think could help. And we saw that even in the game on Sunday. That really is all about it. I mean, just, don't kill Cody Parkey. We don't want to
Fuck him.
we don't want a murder charge.
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies. But really, I mean, Chicago is kind of keeping the same thing with Baltimore. They are two teams that are they're trending in the right direction. I think if you held a gun to Omar's head, he would tell you that he didn't expect the Bears to be 12-4 this year.
I told you what I thought before. Even after Khalil Mack, I thought we was going to win 10 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, 12-4, there's a lot to build on. There's a lot to be excited. They've got the weapons. Utilize Jordan Howard for sure. All right. We've got now the teams that didn't make the playoffs. First of all, the Tennessee Titans. They finished the season 9-7. They had a chance to get into the playoffs. They had a play-in game against the Indianapolis Colts 2 Sunday nights ago. Devin, you have the Titans. They did lay an egg. They have also, which we will get to in a little bit, lost their offensive coordinator, Matt LaFleur. What's on the wish list for them?
Well, aside from that, they have to keep up with the Joneses. What I mean by that, they have about, when most of the moves that we think are going to be made are said and done, they're going to have about 30 to 35 million to work with in free agency. But they need to continue to drop any dead weight and get rid of some of those contracts because the Colts and the Texans have so much money, and they are both already ascending by going to the playoffs, so they have to catch up. So with that being said, they need to move on from Cyprian.
I forgot he was still in the league.
Well, he got hurt. He stayed getting hurt. If they drop him, they'll save about $5.2 million against the cap. And they brought in his replacement, who's still pretty good and fairly young, Kenny Vaccaro. So sign him. It'll be about the same amount, so they won't lose much there. That's one. Two, a position of need, which is they are in desperate need of a wide receiver. They were 29th in the league in passing yards.
You're not a fan of Corey Davis?
That's one. They need more of that because Mariota only threw 11 touchdowns this year.
Whoa.
11 touchdowns. Corey Davis led the team with 65 catches. The second best receiver on the team was Deion Lewis, running back. So they don't have any playmakers. The third thing, to me, is fuck or walk. And what I mean by that is they either need to build up that O-line so Mariota can be healthy because he's stayed getting hurt.
Right.
The reason why, well, they probably would have lost anyway, but a big reason why they lost and laid the egg in that playing game because Mariota wasn't there to play.
It was Blaine Gabbert.
Or they need to know that he's not the guy and move on from that.
Okay. Kev, you've got the Washington Indigenous people. They went 7-9, had a slight chance to get into the playoffs. I think by the time we got to the final week, we kind of knew what it was. Man, you know, they lost Alex Smith in a real way.
He lost Alex Smith.
Yeah, they picked up Reuben Foster. I don't even know where do you start with Washington.
Well, I think they'll have about $16 million in cap space, which is a bad look from the jump. I mean, you traded for Ha Clinton Dix, but I think you got to start. Even if Alex Smith does come back, you need to look towards a long-term solution for the quarterback position. So I think they either got to hope they luck up and draft somebody late like they did Cousins, or try to sign a cheap veteran for the short term, like either Bridgewater or McCown is still out here getting paid by somebody. See if he could at least come in for a short period of time, because who knows when Alex Smith is going to be ready. But at the end of the day, you still have to get an answer for that position. Number two, I think they have to hope that they continue to have the better of the two Grudens, because 2019, this upcoming season really is a do or die year for him, and not having an answer, at the quarterback position is going to require him to do a masterful coaching job, which, I mean, he was doing. It appeared that way. They were 6-3 before, the tires came off. So
Literally.
One
in particular.
But I think that starts with, to go back to that cap number though, you got to try to find a way to get more cap space. You got to make a decision on Josh Norman, which I could have made that decision for y'all 2 years ago. We got to get him up out of here. You got Jordan Reed, who, bruh, is you fucking or is you walking? He's probably spending most of his time fucking because he hurt. and then, backing him up is Vernon Davis, who we need his brother to come pick him up at the parking lot at halftime and just end it, Like, you did your thing. You went to a Super Bowl, and just end your career on a high note, because it's not, if it's going to happen, it's not going to happen in Washington, and they need the cap space. And third, I know that was a little extended, but we gave less for, so I'm going with 4. I think it's something that they may not be able to control, and that's that they need some good voodoo coming their way in 2019, because they had the most injured players on IR this season. And like I said, they were on their way to win that division, or at least compete for a wild card spot, before half the roster went down. So.
It seems like that's the theme every year, which, to your point about the voodoo.
They're not even going to have a safety, though. They're probably going to lose Ha. And
they
let
cut
go.
my man. DJ.
They let the Swearinger go.
Swearinger go, yeah.
Okay, Junior Blue, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This ought to be fun, because I tell you, ever since the season has ended, if there has been a team that has been in the news, it's been the Steelers.
Kardashians.
They went 9-6-1. Okay, so it wasn't like they had a terrible season. I believe we called that if the Le'Veon thing didn't work out, that they weren't going to make the playoffs. How do you fix what's going on in Pittsburgh?
Number one, they need a team building retreat up in Big Bear. Maybe go paintballing, something to bring the team closer together because they have some issues. They need to work it out. You know, you can't just get rid of Le'Veon Bell by not paying him and then want to trade Antonio Brown. They're too good to do that, right? You've already paid the man, so you're going to trade him because of he had some sort of beef with Ben Roethlisberger?
In fantasy perspective, it would be like getting rid of 2 top 5 picks.
Right.
I mean, you don't even have to make it in fantasy. That's just reality. Like 2 top 5, you're going to lose 2 top 5 players in the span of 12 months?
And that can't happen. They need to work it out with Brown. Bell's gone. You know, he'll be in Indianapolis, San Francisco. He'll be somewhere else. That's broken. He's not coming back. Brown, they can still work that out because technically he can't go anywhere anyway. He's under contract. He got the contract he wanted, top pay wide receiver. So he's there. They're going to have to work it out. They need to draft Ben's replacement because it's coming to an end.
It's not Mason Rudolph?
No.
What's the other one?
The other one.
Dobbs?
Yeah. No.
Joshua Dobbs from Tennessee?
They need to draft someone that they really can get behind and be like, hey, Ben won't be here in 2 years.
They talking about extending Ben.
Yeah, they are.
Ben, for the last 3 years, have talked about, I don't want to play anymore.
Right.
Ben low key is the problem.
I don't know if it's low key anymore.
Yeah, I think it's pretty high key.
But I mean, you come out and you literally say, well, he didn't run the route right. That's why I threw this interception. That's not why you threw all your interceptions.
Right.
He led the league in interceptions, by the way.
Exactly. The receivers aren't the reason you threw all those interceptions. It might have been 1, 2 here where they didn't hit the out route right, but it's not all of them.
Ben out there getting his Randall Cunningham
exactly.
on with that weekly radio show.
and let Brown come in and say something similar. Why did he throw that interception? He threw the ball long.
Jumping all over him.
They would jump all over him, but because it's Ben, they were like, well, he did kind of round off his route. No, I don't want to hear that.
Well,
it's time for his replacement.
The reason for the blow up in the ball thrown was because he was saying people ain't want it.
Yeah.
And he got called out for something that, okay, everybody's fucking around and you gonna come at me and I'm the one busting my ass? Nah.
I think them announcing that they're trying to extend Ben was them saying we stand behind him.
Oh,
and not
yeah,
you.
definitely.
How great was the timing on that Masked Singer thing to come out there?
I know.
Singing My Prerogative at that.
And they're secondary. Throw it all in the trash.
No more Artie Burns. Artie Burns, we're looking for you.
He is trash.
Throw it in the gutter, go buy another.
I don't think they are looking for him.
Dad, you had the Minnesota Vikings, 8-7-1. Another team that had a chance on Sunday, on the final Sunday of the regular season, and actually Omar's Bears made sure that they didn't make it into the tournament.
And let Philadelphia in.
And we'll get to and we will get to that shortly. What are your 3 wishes for Minnesota?
Well, if one of them could be all 3, it would be offensive line. Now, you talked about one of the other teams needing offensive line help,
Houston.
which was Houston. Yes, them, but the Vikings gave up a league-high 227 pressures this year. This was their Achilles heel last season.
Right.
But they caught magic, lightning in a bottle, and they were rolling, so it didn't matter. They need to address that. They haven't been able to fill the void with lower draft picks. With any of their higher draft picks, they need to go linemen. They have to. Well, he can't do shit when he's on his back. And maybe they should look into free agency. But they have to. All 5 positions are up for grabs. They need depth at pass catching position. They have probably the best duo in the league with Thielen and Diggs, who both caught over 100 balls.
Right.
But the drop is what?
Precipitous.
For third.
Laquan Treadwell?
Get him out of there. He's done. they don't have anything close after those guys. And even with someone like Rudolph, who has been a solid tight end, they don't have depth behind him. So they need something to kind of mix it up, because after teams started seeing Thielen a little bit and that line was trashed later in the season.
We were talking a lot about him the first 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Then it got real quiet. And it was a whole lot of Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
True story.
So speaking of that man, though, pay him. Pay Adam Thielen, because he's not he's under contract until 2020. But if they pay him now and get that out the way, they can secure him and Diggs for a few more years. And that way he doesn't hit the market in 2020 and the number is way ridiculously high. So I think those are the three things that they need to focus on.
All right, let's get to some football tea. Hot topics, which we'll keep very specific to the NFL coaching carousel update, as well as we will give our recommendations for who we feel like should win the major NFL awards. First of all, with the coaching carousel, we'll start in Tampa. Red O, the decision has been made. Bruce Arians, our favorite Cajun, is coming back for more. And he's bringing Todd Bowles with him as his defensive coordinator. Do you like this move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful move, especially him bringing Bowles with him. You have two head coaches on offense and defense, and there are zero negative 1,000 million zero excuses that what's his name?
Jameis.
Famous
Jameis.
None.
And there's a lot to work with on offense. They've got Jameis Winston. They've got Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones. They've got Mike Evans, Adam Humphries, Chris Godwin, Cameron Braid, O.J. Howard.
Well, I don't think we know if Jameis Winston is a weapon.
I'm glad you didn't mention Deshaun.
No, because he's gone.
He's gone.
No, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Bruce Arians, the second most famous man to wear Kango hat.
Right behind Samuel or Red O.
He doesn't wear it enough.
Junior Blue, the Green Bay Packers have made a choice. An interesting one. Mr. Matt LaFleur, offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. And listen, I got to say, I know that he was in the running for a lot of jobs last offseason. But judging, and I know what you said, Devin, that, Tennessee needs more playmakers. But I'm not seeing it with Matt LaFleur. Junior Blue? What?
I wish they had gone defense personally, a defensive head coach. But I can't blame what Tennessee put on the field and him being the OC.
I think it's a great hire.
I just can't do that. They don't. Yeah, I just.
Don't listen to Omar.
Honestly, I mean, when you look at Tennessee, what could anybody have done with that?
More than 11 touchdown passes, though.
Mariota.
I mean, he had 11 touchdown passes.
I don't think that was LaFleur's fault.
Yeah, but I mean, you still, where's the imagination? Where's the creativity? Now,
where was Derrick Henry the first 8 weeks of the season?
Right.
They tried not playing him the last 3 years.
Prior to him being in Tennessee, as the OC in Tennessee, he was the quarterback's coach for both the Los Angeles Rams in McVay's first year, and then before that, he did 2 years as the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator for Atlanta.
And that's why
that was the year when they went to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan. But everybody knows that was more about Kyle Shanahan than it was about Matt LaFleur.
Great hire.
Yeah.
I think the future is bright for LaFleur in Wisconsin.
Remains to be seen. Josh McDaniels decides that he's going to stay in New England. Now, prior to coming out today with his interview, it had been reported that he had his eyes on the Cleveland Browns job. He's a native of Ohio, Canton, Ohio to be specific, but at the end of the day decides that he wants to stay in New England. The question I have for you, Kevin, is what should the Browns do?
Yeah, especially with Arians. I mean, we were all kind of hoping, even me as a Raven fan was kind of hoping he was in Cleveland just to see what that would look like. I don't know. I mean, I think they may still consider Greg Williams with the success that he had later on in the season, but they have to get somebody in there. That can work specifically with Baker to help him take that next step.
Is Freddie?
I don't know if that. What was that?
Freddie Kitchens.
The rumor is he got the job.
Yeah, because they blocked him from.
But how do you? But that is the rumor. What's being reported is that Freddie Kitchens is the front runner for the head coaching job. But then how do you smooth that over with Greg Williams? Which is why I think you would just keep everything the same. How do you smooth that over with Greg to say, okay, you were the interim. They went 5-2, 5-3 with him down the stretch.
6-2 down the
6-2 down the stretch with him. But we're gonna make the offensive coordinator the head coach
because everyone knows he's batshit crazy.
Are you asking
You are
us?
not a head coach.
Are you asking us if the Browns are going to brown? Like, it is what they do.
I mean, they've been trending up though.
They've been trending. That's just a strange thing.
Yeah,
Like
with Greg Williams, though, the ceiling isn't as high as the floor is low, if that makes sense. Like he can help elevate this team, but he can take them back down that very dark
He
path.
slowed down a little bit.
Kev, say it one more time. Say it one more time.
The ceiling isn't as high as the floor is low.
All right.
Also, I think McDaniels is lying through his teeth. I don't think NFL owners trust him enough to give him an interview. So he's out there saying now I'm staying in New England.
I think he's staying there because
he's getting the job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the successor to Bill.
if I'm an owner, I wouldn't trust him.
Speaking of owners and not trusting, we go to the Arizona Cardinals, who made it, to put it delicately, an interesting choice today. They have a head coach. Their head coach is one Mr. Cliff Kingsbury.
the former OC of the.
I do feel away. Considering what happened.
Never call a play.
4 weeks. He was the offensive coordinator for my USC Trojans for about 3 weeks. And that's fine. Whatever. But here's the thing. You hire a head coach
Black
that
man.
has never had any sort of professional affiliation from a coaching perspective. I think he played for 3 seasons in the NFL as a quarterback. He was just fired, and Omar, that was such a great point you made earlier today. He was just fired from his college coaching job, which happened to be his alma mater. He has a record of 35-40 over the 5 years, and you hire him as a head coach. Now, to your point about lack of trust, I wonder if maybe that was the best that they could do, considering what they did with their previous coach in Steve Wilkes. He got 1 year on the job, literally 1 year.
16 games.
Not even 365 days.
16 games.
They went 3-13, and they fired Steve Wilkes. So maybe they had to go after the unproven college coach because nobody else would even interview or take that job.
It's only 32 in NFL head coaching jobs. That's not the case. They are doing what they want to do.
And how do you explain that to the fans of Arizona, Junior Blue?
It's a hot coaching name, and that's all they wanted.
How is he hot?
But that's it. The same way he came to USC, and it was all over the radio that he was coming here because he brings in a high-flying offense.
You know what
As
it
the
is?
offensive coordinator.
I agree. But that is what they are going to sell
Hey,
them.
he kind of looks like McVay.
It's a
That's
copycat
where
league.
it fucking ends.
He's probably
But
taller.
let's not forget what state did the Cardinals play in?
Arizona.
And who was the last state to make Martin Luther King
Okay.
a holiday?
Is he going to change his?
Yes, yes.
Is he going to change his offense? Because Josh Rosen cannot run the offense he ran.
Which is another thing.
Not at all.
And they gave him a 4-year deal at that.
It's a copycat league, man. They want to
Who-
replicate.
what
But
cat
this
are
ain't
you
even
copying?
McVay, because he looked like him. That's about it. He's young.
Offensive mind.
Let's get to our TLA awards. I'm going to start here first because I'm interested to see what everybody feels. Kev, who's your MVP this year?
Patrick the Frog Mahomes,
Junior Blue.
because he light skinned.
Patrick Mahomes.
Dad.
Patrick Mahomes.
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
Same thing.
I didn't know if anybody was going to go out and take the Drew Brees, go to Drew Brees, or the Khalil Mack angle, or the Aaron Donald angle. No, I agree. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the MVP. Most improved player, Redo.
Shit.
He didn't look at that.
Come back to me.
Dad.
I have two. It's a code.
You can have one. You can have share one.
You can share one. I think
Sharing is caring.
I think it's either George Kittle's
Okay.
or D Ford, because without
D
them, that
Ford.
defense is absolutely boo boo. They already boo boo.
Yeah. D Ford.
I had D Ford.
Yep. Kev.
Yeah, me too. He had a career year on a terrible defense. Like Devin said, they needed him.
But Kittles did have an amazing
Yeah.
year.
You're welcome.
Teamwork, baby.
No I in team. Oh, Dad, rookie of the year. Interesting question.
So offense and defense, or
Yeah, let's go. Okay, offensive rookie of the year.
Offense is Saquon Barkley.
All right, defense.
Derwin James.
Okay, so offensive rookie of the year, Saquon Barkley. Junior Blue.
Same thing. Saquon and
Saquon and Derwin.
James. I wish you get a James jersey.
And I think,
Man,
I think
this was free.
I think the fact that people are even saying
Baker.
Baker is insane to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Kevin, are you the same? First of all,
Yes, I agree with Omar. Yeah.
why are they insane?
Because Baker is getting credit because of Cleveland's past. He is not getting credit for it's added to it because they have sucked for so long that he actually brought life to them. But if you just
Omar,
look at
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
nope, it's your turn.
Well, I can help you make this a lot easier. Baker Mayfield is surrounded by a team of top 5 draft picks. Saquon is on a team full of garbage with a terrible offensive line, an aging quarterback. We know he's getting the ball every play, and he still put up the numbers he put
Caught
up.
91
Saquon Barkley.
passes.
91 passes, and he led the league in yards from scrimmage.
It's no brainer.
I agree. Saquon Barkley and Derwin James. Although, shout out to Quentin Nelson, the guard
Yeah.
out of the Indianapolis Colts.
And
Guard would never get it, but hey, he got his first team.
Yep.
Yes, all pro,
First team all
as
pro.
a rookie.
Changed the whole landscape of that team.
The perfect, I think, the perfect match between team need and player, and then to get the actual production from that.
field.
I mean, that's the best connection that I've seen probably in the last 15 years. Okay, offensive player of the year, Dad.
Saquon Barkley. Absolutely.
And he's not blinking.
Look, the points that Kevin made, that offensive line is terrible. He had far less touches than Elliott, and he wasn't behind Elliott's line. And he led the league in yards, and he had 15 touchdowns in his rookie season.
Junior Blue.
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. I'm with you. I said Patrick Mahomes.
I'm with Patrick.
50 touchdowns. Kev?
Drew Brees. We had to give him a consolation prize. I mean, he did kind of set the league on fire. No, and honestly, he does deserve. He's deserving of the MVP, but I think what he did offensively is out of this world. But doesn't make him the MVP.
I like your Saquon Barkley argument. It's fair, but Patrick Mahomes, I mean,
50 touchdowns.
it's how do you stop him?
Left-handed.
Defensive player of the year. This ought to be interesting. Kev, I'll start with you.
I'm looking at Omar. Aaron Donald for consistency.
Yeah.
Did it all year. He did it all year.
Yeah. And Aaron Donald, interior defensive lineman,
with 20 and a half sacks.
20 and a half sacks. Junior Blue?
Aaron Donald.
Dad?
Running back, Aaron Donald.
Damn.
Here we go.
We need to
Omar.
fight about something. Here we
Omar.
go.
Aaron Donald.
Only wait a minute. Only because you wanted to draft him, you thought he was going to be there at 14.
Jesus Lord.
All right. Coach of the year. I'll start with you, Junior Blue.
Now this is where we gonna fight.
I know it's funny because I picked Nagy, but I have Pete Carroll up there too.
I actually agree with you.
Yeah, I have Pete Carroll up there.
I said Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I did because that was impressive. And I mean, just when you first of all, you think about all of the shit that everybody was talking that was coming out of Seattle, talking about the
Coming out of his room. His room here.
you know, in terms of he's losing a team, the message is stale, it's getting old, and
Earl Thomas.
and he stuck to his guns. He stuck to his guns, and he has been able to capture. I don't know if you guys saw Doug Baldwin's press conference after the game on Saturday, and he said the only thing I got to say to the rest of the league is watch out. Watch out. He has been able to reinvent himself or reinvent the spirit and the culture of that organization in a way. It's impressive to be the oldest coach in the league. Yeah, I said Pete Carroll. Dad.
I said Matt Nagy. I think the turnaround from Chicago, from almost basically worst to first, but you definitely have to take some consideration with Mr. Frank Reich. Going 1-5, and then turning that around, and then winning a playoff game on the road. And they definitely have, I'll
We'll
wait
get
on
there
that. Yep.
in 2 minutes.
I actually think there were some really impressive turnarounds this year, on some other teams. So, but you already know where I'm at. That man captured the heart of the city.
You would think Omar is the mayor of Chicago.
Wait, have you ever been to Chicago?
Man, I sat at the 50-yard line, stood up the whole game, baby.
Hey, okay. Well,
Hey.
although
Kevin said, "Hey, excuse me."
I do support Matt Nagy, but I'm going Pete Carroll, man. Fight on. Listen, the only thing we've agreed on as a group more than these awards was that Seattle was going to be trash this year. when Kevin did his season preview, we were all like, yes, exactly.
Trash.
And they managed to salvage that season. He revamped their playing style, got Russell Wilson upright. Pete Carroll.
All right, before we get out of here, let's get to the divisional previews and predictions. We are down to the Elite Eight of the 2018 NFL season. We've got 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. Saturday's games, first of all, in the AFC, we have Frank Reich's Indianapolis Colts going on the road to take on our old friend Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Redo, who do you have?
Until Reed proves it, I'm going against him. I'm taking the Colts.
Okay, you've got the Colts. Dad?
Man, flip a coin, brother. I think the Chiefs are that good on offense, but there's something about the hot team and the hot team that can control the line of scrimmage and run the ball. Oh, and they have a pretty decent quarterback who should also be up there in consideration for MVP as well. He didn't get brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Luck.
So you got the Colts.
Hey, that arm loosened up.
Yeah, it did. he made a throw on the sideline the other day that was nasty. I'm going Indy with the upset.
Indy with the upset.
I'm going Chiefs just because it's at Arrowhead. That's the only reason.
I've been telling you guys all weekend, the Colts and a lot of teams have been watching them. Their defense they don't get a lot of acknowledgement. But we talk about defensive rookie of the year candidate Darius Leonard.
Bashed them for drafting him too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is really good. The one weakness that they've had consistently all season has been at the tight end spot, and it's been defending running backs coming out of the backfield. Travis Kelce, Damian Williams, and I also think you'll see a little bit of Tyreek Hill running routes out of the backfield. I like a shootout, but I like Kansas City to win for those reasons. Kev?
Well, the only other black quarterback left is Dak Prescott, right?
Yes.
So
You're confirming?
yes, I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. But listen, as great as he's played this year, this is his first big moment.
Mm-hmm.
First big moment, first big test in an environment he's never been in. So
Right.
I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for Kansas City.
It ain't Andy Reid's
I think
first.
they'll win a close one.
I think the most interesting game of the weekend is the Los Angeles Rams, who will be taking on the visiting Dallas Cowboys. Typically in the playoffs, if you got a really good defense and a really good running game, you go really far. And I am inclined to pick the Cowboys for that reason, but it's the Cowboys. And I think the Rams are going to do it. I think in my previews, I'd said that I picked the Cowboys to win. I think the Rams are going to win. I don't trust Dak Prescott. There's just something about the Cowboys that I don't trust. Junior Blue.
I have the Rams also, and I think it's going to be an away game for the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This might be 60-40.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cowboy fans
But
out
you're
here.
still picking the Rams.
I still pick the Rams, though.
Dad.
I said in person and in our chat that I thought the first playoff game the Rams would play, they were going to lose, but they got the boys. I agree with you. I don't. It's something about it. Like I don't trust Dak. I don't trust their head coach.
If we're talking about the Bears, you pick the Bears?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm picking the Rams reluctantly.
I really want to pick the Rams. But I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a monster game.
Yeah, you can run on them.
You can't. I agree.
I think he's going to have a monster game.
Listen, football-wise, I think
It makes sense.
It makes sense to pick the
Cowboys win.
Cowboys. The only thing I would say is this, too.
It's something funny though.
It's always something funny about the Cowboys.
Something funny about the Rams too. Like it's not like
They got too much talent on
They
defense.
can't stop
to
the
suck.
run. Yeah, and the defense is terrible.
Kev?
They need some new linebackers.
Man, I don't trust Dak. I don't trust Jason Garrett. I don't trust Jared Goff. But I trust Ezekiel Elliott and I trust defense. So I'm going to go Cowboys.
Sunday, Los Angeles Chargers. We got to go back on the road again. It's okay. We going to the snow because
You got a mouse in your pocket?
Man, we. I'm French. In the snow, I believe there's supposed to be some sort of a snowstorm that's hitting the East Coast. Going against the New England Patriots. Junior Blue, who you got?
The Chargers. I'll never pick the Patriots.
Dad?
I actually think the Chargers are the most complete team in the AFC. I think they can actually beat. I said the other day.
he's doing a little dance inside.
No, fuck him. Whoever won our game, I thought had the best chance to come out the AFC. So I'm picking Chargers.
Same thing. Chargers.
Kev?
Chargers.
I'm rooting for the Chargers, but I got to tell you, and I said it 2 weeks ago, I don't sleep on the Patriots. Don't sleep on the Patriots.
Psychology. Gronk is done.
Okay. Saints, Eagles. Listen, folks. Is this a repeat?
Dumbledore is about to fall off the cliff. The magic is done.
What did you call it?
Dumbledore.
Redo has the Saints. Dad?
I'm not answering this question.
What does that mean?
That means I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know that something about that Saint Nick shit. I mean, like when we talked about like them getting
And the
Bears,
Saints are playing Nick.
that's a reach. I mean,
No, wasn't that far.
No, it was like
Spot on. It was on the nose.
It was on the tee.
yeah, it was. I mean, if you put a gun in my head, I'm taking the home team, but we know the Saints have not been playing well down the stretch, and they sat week 17.
Kev?
I know one thing, that the winner of this game is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I just came from New Orleans, so I know everything outside the Superdome is turned. I want to pick the Saints. You know, I'm going to pick the Saints. But if the Eagles win, I'm religious and I'm faithful to Nick Foles.
Junior Blue?
Playoff Nick, man.
Different breed.
I feel like the Eagles haven't played well either, honestly. They just keep on coming up with wins. But
Doink, doink.
in that dome, I feel like the Saints going to get them. They're going to end it.
So last week, I feel like the Eagles really believed that they were going to beat the Bears. And the Bears are the best defense in football, one of the best defenses in football, so you're not going to look pretty, win or lose, going against the Bears. I feel like this week, they feel like they're playing with house money, and there is a revenge angle. And here's the other thing. The thing that I said about the Eagles at the beginning of the season, they probably are the deepest team in football. And now you're going to look up, and you've got Wendell Smallwood, you've got Darren Sproles, you've got Josh Adams, you've got Nelson Aguilar, you've got Alshon Jeffrey, you've got Golden Tate, you've got Zach Ertz, you've got Dallas Goedert. I like a shootout Sunday, and I like the Eagles to win because they are healthy. All their weapons are there, and that defensive line is also healthy, and they are back. We're going to look up and be like, we're going to be, I said a shootout, right? I said a shootout, and they got way more weapons than the Saints have. The Saints got Michael Thomas and the running backs, and that's it. 35-31 Eagles. All
Wouldn't
right.
be surprised.
On another note, I'm firing my research assistant. The Houston Texans had one.
I was like, the Raiders got 24.
Hey, I'm going to pull up the website and show you where it said 22-23.
Omar.
She is fired.
Omar, that is beautiful. That is a beautiful way to end the show.
I've been holding on to that.
I'm firing my research. Les shot me the phone. I was like, because I was like 3 picks. I know the Raiders got a lot of.
Like 22, 23, and 24.
I
was
like,
what?
He was playing bingo on the show. Anyway, we will see you next week. This has been another episode of 32 Kings Road. As always, please follow us everywhere. everywhere on social media. Our handle is at The League AM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, El Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the League Ambassadors, and we playing to win at the 2-yard line. And make no mistake, we running it in.